Hello everyone. Hello learned colleagues. Hello my potential researchers. In the last video, I promised I will be doing a video to show you guys how you can conduct your reliability and validity tests. Okay, I also remember in my previous video, I showed you guys how to do data preparation, how to enter your data into the SPSS software, how to um, delete or erase all data errors, and how to do your coding. I mean, how to code your quantitative data. So as I said, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how you can perform your reliability test and validity test easily. Uh, Actually, reliability is one of the first things to do once you are able to do your data preparation. Once you are able to clean your data, check all the errors, and then convert all your the data you obtained from respondents, convert it into structured formats. So reliability is actually the first thing to do, and then you check your validity of the data set as well. So as social science students, we don't go to labs. So what we do is to use some of these softwares, um, Amos, uh, SPSS, and then PLS algorithms and other in vivo and other softwares to analyze our data and draw conclusions or make meaningful conclusions out of the data sets. So, prior to testing your hypothesis, if you formulated or you developed hypothesis uh, to come out with findings, prior to testing the hypothesis to see if the hypothesis are going to be accepted or if you are going to reject your null hypothesis. What you have to do is to ensure that you check the reliability and the validity of the data sets. So what you do for the first thing that you have to do is, as I said, is to check your reliability and validity test. Actually, before you do that, what you have to know is you perform some key steps in this process. Key steps that have to do with the unidimensionality and then convergent validity of the data sets. So I will explain them one by one. Don't worry. So I will say, as social science, if we say reliability, it is simply refers to the consistency and the stability of measurement instruments. Here, if I say measurement instruments, it simply has to do with any tool or device or method used in soliciting or collecting data on variables in research. Examples of some of these measurement instruments include surveys, questionnaires, interviews, and tests. We do have some reliability types of reliability tests. We have internal consistency. We have others as well. Let me explain the internal consistency. Internal consistency, it simply examines whether items on scale measures the same constructs. At that time, in my previous video, I explained what a construct is in research and then what indicators or research variables are in research. So here, some are known or some famous scholars cite Lee J. Cromber, of which his philosophy has been popularly known as or is popularly known as the Cromber Alpha. His proposal or his assertion is that we use a benchmark value of 0.7 as a threshold for acceptable internal consistency in social science research. I also mentioned something about unidimensionality. If I say unidimensionality here, the idea that a measurement instrument or a measurement scale assesses a single construct, that is, all items on the scale measures one underlying concept. Measurement scale here, we have types. We have nominal scale, we have ordinal, we have interval, and we have ratio scale and others. So having explained all that, let's see how we can perform our reliability and validity tests with this data set. In my previous video, I explained how we can code the research variables for it to be easy to make analysis, for it to be easy to draw conclusions and make meaningful or to come out with meaningful findings. So as you can see from my screen, we have coded all the research variables that are under our constructs. We have coded them. We have RE1, RE2, RE3, RE4, RE5, RE6, RE7, RE8, RE9. Right. Having explained what a reliability test or reliability means in research, let me quickly explain the validity aspect as well. If we say validity, validity refers to the extent to which a measurement instrument measures what is intended to measure. I will say validity shows the accuracy of the conclusions drawn from the measurement. We have types, as I said earlier on. We have content validity, which ensures that the measurement covers the entire domain of the construct. We also have construct validity. Under it, we can have something like convergent validity, which, as I said earlier, it checks if measures of the same constructs correlates or connects, or if there's a link between the variables. That's the work of the convergent validity. So, like we have convergent validity, we also have divergent validity. Divergent validity here ensures that measures of different constructs do not correlate. Yes, so it's direct opposite of the convergent validity. We also have discriminant validity. Discriminant validity here is a measure used to determine the extent to which a construct or a concept is distinct or unique from other constructs. So I would simply say it simply helps confirm the distinctiveness of a construct. That's the simple meaning for the discriminant validity. So having explained reliability, what a reliability means in social science research or in research, and then having explained validity aspects of it or the validity in research, let me quickly walk you through how you can conduct this test before, if you have formulated your hypothesis or if you have developed your hypothesis. Before you proceed on testing your hypothesis, you need to perform reliability tests, which is mandatory, which is a must for you to do. Now, if you could clearly remember, in my previous video, I raised a topic that we are conducting a research on the effect of renewable energy on Ghana's sustainable development. So, if you have already, in this research, assuming we are done with research background, problem statements, significance of the study, research objectives, research questions, methodology, assuming we are done with all that, now there's a need for us to report on the results and the analysis and go on with the analysis aspect. What we have to do first is to report on the results. Before going ahead to report on the results, we have to perform a task, as I said, reliability and validity test. So we doing that, we have two variables, as you can see from my screen. We have dependent variable or the exogenous variable, and then we also have the endogenous variable, which is also known as the dependent variable. So the effect of renewable energy on Ghana's sustainable development. So the effect of renewable energy, which I coded as RE, becomes our independent variable, or the exogenous variable. And the Ghana sustainable development becomes dependent variable, or the outcome variable, or the endogenous variable. So here we are using the effect of renewable energy predict what happens to Ghana's sustainable development. So as you can see from my screen, I have coded that as such. As we did in my previous video, I've coded them, because if you don't code them, it will not be very easy, or will not be uh, working with it will be a bit confusing. So we did that. We coded all of it. We coded all of it in addition with the demographics. I taught you how you can convert that, and even how to use the toggle button to check. So as you can see from my screen, if you hit on the toggle button, we're able to see the quantitative aspects, and then the non-numerical, or the qualitative aspects of the demographics, as you can see from my screen. Now we are done with all that. What we have to do is to go ahead and check our reliability. Mind you, we don't check reliability and validity on demographics. That one is not needed. We don't check it. What we check on is the key variables in your research. If you have predictor variables, if you have outcome variables, or even a third variable which can be moderating or mediating variable. But in this research, we only have two variables. We have independent variable, and then we have dependent variable. So what we have to do is to check the reliability and validity test on these two key variables. As we have coded, if you go to the variable view, as you can see from my screen, you can see that it has been coded nicely here. If you go to data view, it has been structured into numbers, which the SPSS needs to work on. Okay, so first we have to go to analyze, and then look for scale, and then choose reliability analysis. The moment you click on reliability analysis, a dialog box will appear showing you all the items or all the variables. Now we have to do it one after the other. So we are going to check reliability on the independent variable, and then we'll proceed to the dependent variable. So you can select them one by one, or you can highlight and then pick them as well. So you can see that even though we have coded all of them, it appears as the way we structured our questionnaires, the way we asked the questionnaire, I mean the research variables, and then the indicators. So let's see, I have selected all of them as being part 2. I've selected all of them. So you go to statistics, and then you can select item, you can select scale, you can select correlations, you can select covariances. But for your work to be easy, and as first time learners, let's select, it will be appropriate for us to select scale if item deleted. I will later on explain this part as we go on. So I'll select scale if item deleted. Then you go ahead and click continue. You click OK. Once you do that, it shows you the result of what the action you performed. So you can see from my screen that it shows cases valid, excluded, total. Now the valid means the number of respondents, or the number of participants who participated in the survey that you issued out. So they are 185 respondents, as I mentioned earlier on, for this simple research that I did. And the data that I obtained from the respondents, the number of respondents were 185. So it shows as such as 185, and then excluded, meaning they all performed, or they all responded to the questionnaires, to the questions, which shows that none of none of the results is missing, so it shows 0. Total means total is also showing here 185. Now if you come to Lee J's Chromebus, that is the Chromebus Alpha, it shows 0 points or 0.884. Remember I told you earlier on that the benchmark Chromebus Alpha benchmark value of 0.7 or 0.7 is normally the accepted value which we used in checking if our data set or if our data is reliable. So if it is below 0.7, then there's something wrong. We need to check on the questionnaires, or we need to check the data sets to be able to meet the 0.7 or exceed 0.7. So for this research, as you can see from my screen, it shows 0.884. Good. Now if you continue to the next box, you can see it shows item total statistics. As you can see from my screen, it shows part 2. So it gives you all the questions on the questionnaires, even though we have coded them. You see how the result appears. It doesn't appear good at all because of the way it has been showed. Now for you to get a good result, we need to go back and do something quick. Now let's minimize this part and then go to variable view. So once you have already coded this part, there is no need for the label aspect to show the questions that you raised in your questionnaires. So you can delete them. It won't affect your results, or it won't affect the data sets. So I'm going to delete all of them. So I clicked on the first part, which is the part 2, and then I'll click on delete, or you backspace it. Once you do that, it will just delete it from it. You make sure you delete everything. Then the moment you do that, you see that the label aspect is empty. It won't affect your data set. You don't have to be worried about it. Now we go back to data view to check our data set has not been affected, as I said. Yes, everything is there. Now let's go back and then reperform the reliability test that we started. Now we go to analyze and then you hit skill. You choose reliability analysis. So as you can see, what we're having here initially has changed. Now the interface has changed. The research variables or the indicators is no more reading as the questions that we raised in the questionnaires, but it's now showing the codes that we did for the quantitative data. It's now reading R1 and everything. Let's reset it and then rechoose again. Okay, so for us to do the right thing, let's check. Our independent variable is renewable energy. Okay, so it's RE. So we select all the questions that we raised under RE, or the renewable energy. So we have RE1, RE2, RE3, RE4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Then you select the arrow for it to be moved to this side, and then you click on statistics. As I explained earlier on, it is better we choose scale if item deleted. Then you click on continue. You go to OK. So you see it is a bit different, or it's way different from the initial action or the initial tests that we did. As you can see from my screen, you see where it shows, this part shows the questions we raised in the questionnaires, and then the second one we did, the second test we did or we ran, that one shows you the codes that we did or we gave to the quantitative data. So RE1, RE2 up to RE10. So now the results, as I told you, the results hasn't changed. The first one we got 0.884, as you can see from my screen, 884. And the number of items, number of items here means the number of research variables or the number of questions we raised under that construct. If I say construct, I mean renewable energy, that means RE. That is the independent variable. The number of questions we asked the respondent or participant for them to choose, for them to select, for them to agree, disagree, neutral, or strongly agree with it, those becomes the research variables or the indicators. Those are the ones that we have coded RE1 up to 10. So now you can see that the Chromebox Alpha, if item deleted, it also gives you values of which none of them is below 0.7, which is our threshold, according to a famous scholar, Lee J. Cronbach. So you can see that this this shows that even if we delete, assuming we proceed, we test our hypothesis, or assuming we adopt a model of which SEM is very common to we social science students, assuming we adopt a model called SEM or structure equation model, and then one of our loadings or our factor loadings is way down. So we need to delete some of the items. Assuming we delete some of the items, or assuming uh, the research variables up to 10, we are going to just delete one or two from it. It still wouldn't affect our reliability because none of them is below the threshold of 0.7. It's between 0.855 to 0.91, which is very good. Now, number of items shows 10. It means for RE, which is our construct, we raised 10 questions under it. So this becomes the research variables, or this becomes the indicators. We can copy it since we are going to need it to report on. We can copy it. It's better let's copy the main one, which is the second one, and then we place it here. We are going to report on it later on. Okay, so for this is the result for RE. Okay, let's save it. Control S. Okay, now we can go back to the SPSS and do the same thing for the indigenous variable. So we go to analyze and then go to skill. We choose reliability analysis. You hit on reset, and then you look for your next variable or your next item, which is Ghana Sustainable Development. So we select all of them: GSD1, GSD2, GSD3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's 10 research variables or 10 indicators. Then you click on this arrow for it to be moved to the side. Then you click on statistics, you choose scale if item deleted, you continue with you click on continue, then you click on okay. So now you can see from my screen that it has also given us a variable or a value. Now it shows 0.824. This one, luckily for us, this one is also above the threshold or the benchmark value of 0.07 according to Lee J. Kronbach. This one is, and then this one too, the number of items also shows 10. So it means that we raised 10 questions on the independent variables, and then we also raised 10 questions on the dependent variables. So let's check the dependent variable in case we delete some of the items, if it is going to fall within or below the benchmark value. You can see that GSD1 shows 833.833, and then GSD10 also shows 0.831. Even the ones that shows 0.7, none of them falls below 0.7. It all reads 0.83, 0.97, 0.91, 0.82, of which they are even above the threshold of 0.7. So this is a simple reliability test that you can conduct, or this is a simple process or a simple procedure you can follow to conduct your reliability test. Now, how do you report this? How do you actually report? So you can copy this side also to this place, and then because we are going to need this report our results. Now we have tested reliability on sustainable development, Ghana sustainable development, and then renewable energy. That is the dependent variable. So this process that we followed, let me show you. I followed this reference, so I can give it to you so that each time you are free, you can read more on it. You can read more on it as you go ahead in your research endeavor. So these are the references I used for this particular research reliability testing and then validity. So here what you can say is you can report this by saying because this research we are going to test hypothesis, simple hypothesis, to say that maybe hypothesis one, we can say that um renewable energy positively impacts on sustainable development, because our case study is Ghana, so there's no need adding Ghana. So we can say um hypothesis one, hypothesis hypothesis one into brackets, or hypothesis one is going to be formulated, or you don't just formulate hypothesis. It's based on literature review that you conduct, or if you review literatures, extant literatures available. If you perform your literature review, then you can be able to raise your hypothesis. So we can say hypothesis one, we can say renewable energy positively influences sustainable development. That becomes our hypothesis one. This is a simple research we are conducting. So assuming we are done with uh, reliability tests and then all that. So this is a simple hypothesis we are going. So before we been able to perform this hypothesis, either because we cannot use SPSS to perform unless we get SPSS extension, which is analysis of moment structure, which is AMOS. We can only use that AMOS and then other softwares like PLS algorithms to perform this hypothesis. So we haven't formulated this hypothesis. We can say period to testing, period to hypothesis testing, testing, testing. Prior to hypothesis testing, the 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 questionnaire, the questionnaire, questionnaire, the questionnaire instruments validity, questionnaire instrument validity, 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 and reliability, reliability were assessed. Okay, so now you can say that after you have written this, you can say um key steps key steps let's justify this part and then check our spacing as well. Key steps considered here includes includes one includes one includes one convergence validity 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 and reliability. Okay, and then you can say discriminant validity as well. Discriminant validity. Okay, and then after you have written this, then you can say uh then you can say uh all 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 items all items that is the dependent the independent variables fall within the benchmark value 0.7. You can say, so if you want to explain it better, you can say you can list them directly that it ranges from blah blah, it ranges from as you can see from my screen, it ranges from 0.88. You can check the least one and then the highest one. So from my screen you can see the least one is 0.885, 0.855, and the highest one is 0.91. So you can report assert points ranging from 0.855 to 0.899 to 0.899, right? Or 0.889. Let me check and confirm that. 0.891, good. 0.891. So now we have reported that all our items, that is the independent variables, fall within benchmark value of 0.7, ranging from 855 to 0.891. Now, before you can go ahead, if you have performed this task and you want to go ahead with CFI CFA, confirmatory factor analysis and all that, which later on I'll be doing another video on it. CFA, confirmatory factor analysis, is normally done to check the suitability or the fitness of the model. Assuming you created or formulated a model for your research, for a simple linear research like this, you can develop a simple model to show this one has effect or impact on the other variable. So if you raise or if you develop a model like that, you need to check the fitness of that model. That is when you before that you were able to check the confirmatory factor analysis to also check. So before all that, reliability test is the first step that you need to perform to check if the data set is actually reliable. So having done that, you can do the same thing and report. If you don't want to report this way, you can also state the actual value. That's all items. That's the independent variables. The independent. Let me add the variables. Variables. All items. That is the independent variables. Values fall within the benchmark value of 0.7. 0.7. If you don't want to ranging from this point to this, if you don't want this way to, you can easily state the actual figure, what is 0.884. 0.884. And you can do the same thing for the independent variables, which is also giving us 0.824, with the number of items being 10 for the exogenous variables, and then number of items also being 10 for the endogenous variables. So this is a simple way of conducting your reliability test. If you have been able to obtain data from a questionnaire that you raised or you sent out, and you have gathered your data, you want to check your reliability and validity test, this is a simple way or a simple procedure you can follow. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this video, like it,